This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello?
And it's funny that you say alpha. Let's get into the big alpha of the AFC North. I think the Ravens are the clear-cut number one team in this division. Like, there's nobody even close to them, in my opinion. I think they're head and shoulders above the rest of their division here. Lamar Jackson is an incredible athlete. It's crazy that people thought to change him to a running back or a wide receiver before coming in. And also, shout out to his mama, very first day of Louisville. Bobby Petrino tried to make him into a punt returner. She walked out on that field and said, Bobby, or coach, my boy ain't no punt returner. My boy a quarterback. So shout out to his mama for being a real one. But Lamar Jackson, incredible talent, amazing backfield. Catch him out in Be More by the Bay. I'm about that. Big trust. Love that. I mean, it's just great. I love the vibe that they have. I love the chemistry that they have. Defense can be shaky at some times, but man, when you have a high-powered offense like that, running the ball, like Lamar Jackson don't even have to throw it because you got so many weapons that can run the ball. It's like what they had in San Francisco, but better. It's like Jimmy G. If Jimmy G could actually run, it's like those two teams are right there. But I love what the Ravens have. I love the style of offense they're running. Lamar Jackson's a great talent, and I can honestly see the Ravens making another run at the Super Bowl this year. I think they give the Chiefs all they can handle in the AFC Championship game. So I'm going to go ahead and make an early lock for the AFC Championship game here. Chiefs, Ravens, calling it now, June 7th, 2020 at 7 o'clock p.m., making that lock right now. There's your AFC Championship game. And to our guys at the I-35 Sports Connection podcast, you may watch out because the Ravens may beat them. That's all I'm saying. I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's great.
So Vegas actually agrees with you. Their two highest win totals that they released in May were the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens.
I know what I'm talking about.
The
Big
Baltimore
trust,
Ravens,
baby. Big trust.
They were set at 11.5 wins, which might seem high, but again, like you said, they're one of the best teams in football. They have a great defensive line. They had some turnover at linebacker. However, they replaced him with two really talented rookies in Malik Harrison, and somehow they had Patrick Queen fall to them in the first round.
No
Still
doubt.
incredible. Still don't understand how it happened. Whatever the case is, they got lucky. They got him. They retooled their defensive line with another third-round pick, Justin Matabuke. J.K. Dobbins, their second-round pick. Now you have the 1-2 punch, thunder and lightning once again with Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. They're going to terrorize the NFL next year.
And Lamar Jackson. Like, God, that backfield is so nasty.
The best running quarterback, at least in the last 10 or 20 years.
Absolutely.
I can't say anything about, guys like Randall Cunningham, Fran Tarkenton, guys like that. I didn't get to watch those play. But for the guys that I did get to watch play, a lot of people mentioned Vic. Lamar Jackson has a better arm, and he's a better runner than Vic. And that's incredible.
Amen. Like, that's why I'm saying, it's crazy to me that people wanted that man to be a running back or a wide receiver. Like, that's crazy. Like, the Ravens, they're counting their stars at night. They're counting all their blessings. Like, okay, we had a chance to get this guy early. He's there. Let's trade for him. And they made probably the best move of the draft in trading back in and getting Lamar Jackson.
Fun fact, the Saints traded up 18 picks higher than what Baltimore traded up for Lamar Jackson and took a defensive end from Texas San Antonio.
Jake, quit complaining about your Saints, man. We get it.
They spent 2 first-round picks on that dude, man.
Look, man, we know the Saints suck.
So
right.
I love Lamar. JK was my RB1. I love that offensive line. They have one of the best tackle pairs in the NFL. A great defense. They got my boy Patrick Queen. Earl Thomas still slanging it around in the safety. Marlon Humphrey, one of the best young corners in football. They got Marcus Peters on the other side. This team should be in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, and that will be some great football viewing.
Didn't Earl Thomas have an orgy with his brother? Was that him a couple weeks ago?
That was him, yeah. And then his wife logged in. I think she logged into his Snapchat, found his ass, and then pulled up with a gun. I was like, hey, what's up?
I was just asking that because you said he was slanging it around. So
Oh.
he's slanging something. Anyway, the Ravens. Obviously, they got a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Is there anybody here, Jake, that you would say obviously we know about Lamar. We know about J.K. Dobbins. We'll talk about them in a second. Mark Ingram, talk about him in a second. But is there anybody on the Ravens that you think they should avoid on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to fantasy?
With fantasy, it's really tough. Guys like Miles Boykin and Devin Duvernay, their third-round pick in 2020, they're good like dynasty stashes, but it's really hard with this offense, the way they focus on throwing to the tight ends and running the ball, that they're ever going to produce two quality fantasy wide receivers. The one that you can look at in the receiving core is, of course, Marquise Hollywood Brown, really good speed guy, really big threat with the ball in his hands. You really look at this offense, and when you don't look at the running backs, the one you go after is Mark Andrews. He's my third rated tight end this year in fantasy. Absolutely loved him coming out of South Dakota State, and he fits perfectly with Lamar Jackson. Now, I'm thinking of Dallas Goedert, wasn't I?
Yep. You want to re-say that? I was saying that South Dakota State. Wait a minute. No, Mark Andrews went to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
You want to re-say that?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
When you're not talking about the running backs here with Baltimore, the one you really look at is Mark Andrews. He's my third highest rated tight end this year in fantasy. He went from Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma to now Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Not really much of a drop-off there in arm talent. Mark Andrews is one of the best young tight ends in football. He's going to get pounded with targets in this offense, and he's going to score a ton of touchdowns.
Yeah, I have him in our Dynasty League, and he was probably my second or third highest scoring player every single week. Just because, you're so focused on what Baltimore can do in that backfield. You don't know who's going to get it, and you're so focused on what's going on in the backfield. He just kind of slips out into the flat or, slips up the seam, catches a 30-yard pass for a touchdown, and he's got some wheels too. And it's crazy to me that the Ravens, they took Hayden Hurst as their first tight end off the board. I'm pretty sure he was the first tight end off the board in that draft, or second.
They took Hayden Hurst before Lamar Jackson.
Oh, shit. I didn't realize that.
That even tells you, the people making millions are dumb, too.
Yeah, they took a tight – okay, so they took a tight end over the league MVP. Good God. A tight end that they just traded away. Man. Mark Andrews, they made so many steals of that draft. Holy cow. I didn't even think that Hayden Hurst got taken before Lamar. I didn't even realize that.
Kids at home, let this be a lesson. If you screw up the first time, just trade a bunch of draft picks and try again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trade 2 for a defensive end that you don't even use in your 3.
Who's really good at defending the run in the Conference USA.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about, obviously, the big names in that backfield. Is J.K. Dobbins a guy that you should focus in redraft leagues, or is he a guy that you should just focus on in dynasty leagues right now?
I think in dynasty, I really tried to trade up for him in our rookie draft.
Oh, no, I know you did.
I really hate that I could not lock him up because in dynasty, man, in this class, I really love Clyde with the Chiefs. Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins are probably fighting out for my RB2 in dynasty in this rookie draft. He's an absolute buy for me. If I can get my hands on him, I'm going to try to. I ended up taking him in our little flea flicker league. Mm-hmm. I had the chance to take Jonathan Taylor, but I wanted to hedge, get a guy I really loved in Dobbins. I really think Dobbins in redraft is going to do more harm than good. He's going to be a guy I'm targeting late because if Mark Ingram does get hurt, if Dobbins does eclipse him, he'll be a really elite back. But in the beginning of the season, Dobbins and Ingram, I feel like they're going to be like a 1-2 punch, and they both might eat into each other's work. You might be looking for touchdowns for either of these guys to be productive for you. So it's a really hazy backfield that I'm honestly staying away from, other than Dobbins late,
Right. So who do you think has the best backfield in Let me start that over. Who do you think has the best backfield in the AFC North? The Browns or the Ravens?
Man.
Who has the better 1-2 punch?
You know, I was thinking like, oh man, he's asking me this question. This is gonna be hard. It's got to be the Browns, right? Like Nick Chubb is one of the best runners
That's
in
what
football.
I'm saying. Like Mark Ingram's good, but Nick Chubb, he got a little more gas in the tank.
It's true. So yeah, I'd definitely say the Browns. That 1-2 punch is incredible. When your number 2 is one of the best running backs in football, like that's incredible.
Right. Exactly. Like Kareem Hunt would be a starter on any other team in the league right now.
Just think if that man did not have the off the field problems that he did, we'd be talking about him as like a top 5 running back in fantasy every single year because he'd still be with Patrick Mahomes.
Right. and you have to think Clyde Edwards-Helaire wouldn't even be a first-round pick.
It's funny the domino effect, which it's perfectly fitting because my wife and I are watching Back to the Future, and those movies are incredible, by the way. Go check those out.
Plug.
Sponsored by Michael J. Fox.
God, I wish. That'd be cool.